Hello, everybody. Welcome to the JD Theory Podcast. On today's episode, we cover NWA Powerrr, Season 25, Episode 2, Bad Company. This episode aired on October 28th of 2025. We are week 2 into NWA 77. Leave a like and subscribe if you want more NWA or wrestling content for that matter. Now, let's get straight into the first match on this week's episode, which would be Fenrir, Slade, and Curtis versus The Lost, represented by Crazy Steve, Lev, and Alex Misery. Now, this trio tag match is the first half of the King B match, which is a two-part match. Whichever team wins would then enter a triple threat against each other, and then the winner of that goes on to face the junior heavyweight champion. Now, with all that being said, Slade is clearly not being paired with Mondo anymore because we see Mondo, he's going to go on to face Mims, and I guess their tag team has just kind of dissolved. We didn't really touch on it, but yeah, it seems Mondo is moving into his own singles program. We start off with Crazy Steve versus Damian Fenrir. Steve would bite his head quickly in this match, and then we would get Misery against Slade. They're the best on each team, in my personal opinion. And after a big head scissor from Misery, we get tags, Lev, and Luke Curtis. So now we've had everybody in the ring face each other. After this, it'd go more towards traditional tag team match. You know, we break the consecutive tag chain with Slade coming in, trying to slow down Lev. And Slade, he would gain control with a big knee followed by a German suplex. Curtis and Fenrir would attack the Lost on the outside of the ring, keeping Lev trapped inside. And Alex Misery, he would take out Curtis and Fenrir with a huge dive off the walk-in stage on the outside. They're at the Paramount over in Huntington. Alex Misery, after he does this, Crazy Steve then gets a hot tag in, takes control briefly, but Slade would push Steve into the referee, rake his eyes, and then execute the Slade Slam for the 3 count. Now, coming out of this match, Slade is looking extremely strong, but now we know we're getting a 3-way match, Slade, Fenrir, and Luke Curtis, which would happen later in the night. Well, it happened pretty much right after this. We just cut to a backstage segment where Austin Idol has breaking news, announces the Universal Heartthrob Austin Idol Invitational. That's a mouthful. And the winner of this will compete for the NWA National Heavyweight Championship. Austin also reminds us he was the first to hold this belt, hence why that would be the reward prize. And then we get Carson Drake backstage on the phone with Linda saying he's going to get Cousin LJ a match in the Austin Invitational. I'm not familiar with this Cousin LJ, but they wanted us to know that. I assume it's going to be a big thing once we get to that. So they're clearly setting up the next chapter of what comes after 77. Next, we're doing the Invitational. So after all of this, we then get Damian Fenrir, Slade, and Luke Curtis in a 1v1v1 match. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, winner of this match is number 1 contender for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. And at first, Curtis and Fenrir take out Slade since he was the most dominant in the tag match and they weren't exactly getting along. And then we would get them against each other, but Slade would get back in the ring after a little back and forth, hit them with a double German suplex, both men at the same time. Now, after Fenrir gets a big clothesline, we kind of reset with all 3 men. They start chopping each other in the middle of the ring. Slade would come out on top, catching Fenrir with a meaty knee to the face into the Slade Slam. But, this would not be the end of the match. Fenrir finds his way out of it. But to avoid getting slammed, he just gets put into the Slade lock. Slade's variation of the ankle lock. This would be broken up by Curtis getting back in the ring, putting him in a sleeper hold, and Fenrir kicking both of them back to the ground. Fenrir then hits a huge frog splash on both men. Then he slings up Curtis and pulls out a huge power bomb for the 3 count. Fenrir is now your number 1 contender for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. But Slade, post-match, he'd kind of hit him in the back of the head, and they'd have a face-off. We don't get to blows, but they have a big face-off in the middle of the ring. I wonder, is Fenrir gonna go for that title, and then Slade's gonna come in, mess everything up, then take his shot? Are we gonna have this resolved before we get to the title match? Who knows? All I know is number 1 contender, Damian Fenrir. And yeah, dude, this guy is a freaking super athlete. Give him that opportunity. Give him the belt even. I don't know. Whatever you want to do with that, go for it. We then cut backstage. We have Kerry Morton admitting to costing Hammerstone his match against Thrillbilly. Says Hammerstone is lucky to share a ring with him. Then we cut over to the Page house. Now, if you remember last week, we saw by the pool, we saw Hunter and Kylie. And Kenzie is saying her sister and fiance need to be kicked out of the house. We cut to this interview segment. Hunter is complete in denial. Kylie is also in denial and very defensive. Says there's nothing going on between them. And finally, our last mini promo, we get Pastor CeeLo saying EC3 and Pretty Boy Smooth is going to put down Carson Drake and Aaron Stevens. Amen. The Holy Grail. They're great. Some of the best promo work in the NWA right now. This was an exciting episode. We got a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces. But let's talk about the next match, which would be Kerry Morton versus Hammerstone. Now, before the bell even rings, Hammerstone, he's posing on the top rope. Kerry sneaks attacks him before the bell rings. But Hammerstone, he would quickly take control here using his advantageous size and power. Kerry relies on quick wits to get reversals. And once in control, we do see Kerry Morton pick him apart limb by limb. He has that very Pete Dunne kind of style, with targeting specific areas of the body. And after a while, the disrespectful nature of Morton, it gets to Hammerstone. And he'd over Morton. Excuse me. I can't speak. It's early. He'd take over control with meaty punches followed by a choke slam-like maneuver, so Hammerstone's really starting to get going. We get a little back and forth, but then Kerry, he would land a kiss of goodbye, the strike of the knee, nearly getting the 3 count, but no dice. So even though Hammerstone is playing that Goliath role in this match, he's not completely in control the whole time because we see all these reversals and Kerry's in control a lot of this match, but the crowd is fully behind Hammerstone, and he lands a big sequence, a boot to a bomb to a knee. Kerry calls for the Southern Six to come out and assist him, and nobody shows up. No Thrillbilly. I forget who else is in the Southern Six, but either way, nobody comes to his aid. He then whiffs a kiss of goodbye, completely missing, and Hammerstone's able to get the Nightmare Pendulum, and it's a 3 count. Overall, this might have been the best match of the night because both performers absolutely great. But yeah, no Southern Six coming out. I wonder, are we going to dissolve that faction? Who knows? Because Thrillbilly Silas Mason, he's going on to face the NWA World Champion Tom Latimer later in NWA 77. Probably not the next episode, maybe the one after that. But yeah, man, a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. I wouldn't mind seeing Thrillbilly just be a dominant champion on his own, but a lot of his wins are dirty. That's how he got to this position in the first place, by beating Hammerstone dirty. But of course, Hammerstone, wouldn't lose to Kerry Morton. We then go backstage. Carson Drake talking to the Holy Grail, saying poor decisions make poor people. Dude, Carson Drake is hilarious on the mic, and Stevens and Drake, they're a great pairing together. I'm excited to see Aaron Stevens back in the ring. He hasn't even wrestled since I've been watching. He's just been playing the manager role. I haven't seen him wrestle since he was Damian Sandow. That's just me. I know he's had reigns in the NWA. But yeah, we then cut to Brian Idol and Talia Markova. They're taking a walk on the boardwalk. Markova says this is the last time she needs. She's going to take the title home. No more chances. She's getting it done. Brian Idol says he has her back in case any shenanigans go down. Notably, if Hunter or Tommy Henry would get involved here. They then bump into La Princesa. She's on a date with the guy. I can't remember his name, but whatever. Maybe we're setting up a future mixed tag match with Markova and Idol versus La Princesa and that bald dude that I can't remember the goddamn name of. But yeah, maybe that's a hint at something like that. Either way, we would then cut to our main event match, which this starts Carson Drake, Aaron Stevens versus the Holy Grail being EC3 and Pretty Boy Smooth. And we start with EC3 and Carson Drake. EC3 takes the early lead in this match. And when Aaron Stevens gets tagged in, we just see him run and dodge, really playing up the whole I'm retired angle. I thought it was really funny because, yeah, if you were retired, you would be ducking and dodging, and any chance you had, you'd just take full advantage of, because that's what happens here. But not yet, because we would get Pretty Boy Smooth coming in and Carson Drake. The Holy Grail is in complete control of this match, at least the first part. But after Carson Drake drops to the outside, he pretends Pastor CeeLo hits him, pretty much begging the referee for a DQ finish. It would not happen. We would get a lot more shenanigans, but before we get to anything else, we do cut backstage one final time. We cut to Colby Corino, and it's a video package, and he's announcing he's been injured and doesn't know when he'll be able to compete again. And he says he'll come out next week and talk in the ring. And yeah, man, this is a bit of a swerve. I remember we saw, I mean, of course he had that match with Rhino and Tom Latimer, but we also saw Colby, I forget against who, but we saw him a few weeks ago in the lead up to 77. I think he was initially going to be facing Carson Drake, but that ended up not falling through, and now we kind of know why. He's injured. And, man, it would really suck if this is a really bad injury, because Colby Corino is absolutely one of the top guys. And, we saw him against JAC. And, yeah, he toppled the big man because he's trying to prove himself in the heavyweight division, despite being usually a junior heavyweight. But he's done it all in that division. He's trying to move up. But, yeah, this is unfortunate. I don't think it's a story angle injury. I know that's the rage right now after Seth Rollins and the WWE, but pretty sure this is a real injury, or else we would have had him against Carson Drake. It's unfortunate, man, and yeah, I'm going to be tuning in next week, see what he says, hear what's going on, hope it's not too bad of an injury. Either way, we then get Mondo saying next week he's having his match against Big Mims, and he's taking that national title off his waist. I think this is going to be a great match, man. Very excited about it. But yeah, after these promos, we would then cut back to the match. The Holy Grail is still in full control when we get back. And then Carson Drake, while between the ropes, he actually smacks Pastor CeeLo on the top of the head. And of course, CeeLo's not going to take this, so he grabs his legs, and the ref ejects him from ringside. So Pastor CeeLo is gone. And Aaron Stevens, he comes in quick with these knees, just trying to capitalize, getting in a ton of knees and punches, because he needs to strike any opportunity he gets. That's the only way you're getting Aaron Stevens taking advantage. Then Drake and Stevens, they start tagging back and forth, laying it in on EC3, and then we get some hot tags. PB Smooth finally getting in again, and he's faced with Carson Drake, and PB would just toss both of them around. Stevens and Drake are looking like some rag dolls. Extremely dominant performance, and PB almost gets the 3 count with a massive leg drop, which I must say, Carson Drake sold this perfectly. His legs just shot up, and PB would cover him until Aaron Stevens breaks the pin. And then we also see Aaron Stevens equip his loaded glove, which, if you were watching last episode, was the cause of a ton of shenanigans. If you remember, he had BFT and the Slime Balls. He was acting as a manager in that 4-way tag match, and he pretty much eliminated every team as the manager, just knocking them out with loaded glove attacks. But yeah, he wouldn't get to use it just yet. EC3 would take him out and then dive to Carson Drake on the outside, but Carson Drake would end up getting out of that. And while all of this is going on, Aaron Stevens is able to get the punch on Pretty Boy Smooth with the loaded glove. Carson Drake comes back in, rolls him up, gets the 3 count. And this is a big win for Drake and Stevens. I don't think I've ever seen PB Smooth pinned before this, at least since I've been watching. You know, all in all, this was an exciting episode of NWA Powerrr. We got a lot of action. 3 matches, but technically 4 matches, because the King B match is 2 matches in 1. But yeah, man, great stuff. No title changes yet. We're saving all that for the next episode, I suppose, because I think, yeah, we get Mondo versus Mims, so we're going to get the national champion on the line. And we still need to see Knox and Murdoch. We know they're facing the Immortals for the tag champion because they were the Crockett Cup winners. And we are still, Tom Latimer versus Thrill Billy Silas Mason, which is coming up as well. We already saw Brian Idol defend. Oh, and also Natalia Markova versus Kenzie Page. And somebody else, Tiffany Nieves, is defending against Selena in the next episode also. So, yeah, all the titles coming up soon. We're approaching that. I think we're at that halfway point of NWA 77. I'd assume we got 2 or 3 more episodes of it. Maybe 4. I don't know how long this event taping was. I'm just watching it as it comes out on Powerrr. I don't like even Googling anything about it because I know that spoilers are going to pop up. So I just follow as the week goes on. But yeah, man, great episode. Super excited to see what's going on next. Let's just talk about what direction we see things going in with some of these stars. Because the Holy Grail after this loss, I kind of don't know what you do with them. Maybe whoever ends up being the tag team champions, you could put them in a program. Because I don't think we're going to see Aaron Stevens and Carson Drake paired up as a tag team again. If that becomes a regular thing, I'm here for it. But I have a feeling Aaron Stevens is primarily going to go back to that managerial role. And let's see. Who else did we have on this card? Hammerstone. I think after this win, here's a little predicting. I think we're going to see Thrill Billy beat Tom Latimer. I think it's the right move. I think it's time. Thrill Billy's great. And I think we're going to see him win. And then we get Hammerstone versus Thrill Billy as the run-back match. But now the Thrill Billy doesn't have the Southern Six by his side because I think we're going to see a fallout between him and Kerry Morton after Thrillbilly didn't come out to help him against Hammerstone the same way Morton helped Thrillbilly against Hammerstone. So yeah, there's definitely an angle there. I'm very invested in that storyline because there's a couple ways it could go, right? Thrillbilly could lose the title match against Latimer and then get into a beef with Kerry Morton. Who knows? And then maybe we could do Hammerstone versus Latimer at the next event. I don't know what's going to happen. There's a ton of ways you could take it. I think Damian Fenrir, I think you can make him junior champion, right? Junior heavyweight. I wonder, Slade is probably going to get involved no matter what happens with that. I don't know what you do with Luke Curtis after this, though. He's kind of in nowhere land. And yeah, I'm curious what the stipulations of this Universal Heartthrob Austin Idol Invitational is. I wonder, is this going to be a tournament? Because he referenced the Crockett Cup, so I think we're probably going to get a tournament situation, probably a singles tournament. And yeah, that's pretty much what we got going on this episode. I guess I'll put in who I think is going to win. I think Tiffany Nieves is going to defend her TV women's title. I think La Princesa has a lot of beats in the storyline right now. I think you want to keep the belt on her. As for Big Mims versus Mondo, we did see a chink in the armor of Mims because Pope would be victorious against him in a non-title match. Do you just have Mims drop the belt? Do the Immortals get involved again and attack Mondo, and then we put Mondo and Slade back together and they fight the Immortals? I don't know. There's a couple ways you could take this. I'm going to predict they keep the belt on Big Mims until Pope is able to come back again. And then Pope is going to dethrone Mims. I don't think you need to put the belt on Mondo immediately, if at all. If Mondo does win, it's more in the open what could happen, a lot less predictable, but I don't know if it's better. I think Mims is a good champion. But yeah, I guess I'm curious to see. I'm leaning towards Mims winning. That's just what I think they're going to do. But either way, NWA 77, it's working for me. I'm enjoying it. Stay tuned. Next episode on the podcast, we're going to be talking about Monday Night Raw coming up. Saturday night's main event. I don't think I'm going to do a predictions video. I might, but I don't think I will. I think I will do a grading video on Saturday night's main event. But yeah, I might skip the predictions video. Even though, here, I'll say this now. If you're watching Saturday night's main event, I do not think Punk or Jey Uso are going to win the title. I think there's going to be an interference by Braun Breaker, and then we have a 3-way match or a 4-way match with LA Knight, and that will crown the champion. Yeah, but I think most likely it's going to be a 3-way at Survivor Series, Braun Breaker, CM Punk, and Jey Uso, and the title will remain vacant. That's what I think is going to happen. But yeah, maybe I do a predictions video. If anything, I'm just going to retread what I said here. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. This has been this weekly episode of NWA Powerrr. If you enjoy the Powerrr episodes, let me know. Leave comments, subscribe, drop a like, all the same stuff, yada, yada. I'm heading out of here. I got to get ready for work. Enjoy the rest of your day, fellow human beings. Bye-bye.